uh, that can give you a lot of information that why we are here. This is a way that how we can give the awareness to the people. Once you will be getting awareness from here, I can guarantee you, once you will go back, you can identify the fraudster. I mean, don't say everyone is a fraudster, but I mean, you can identify the fraudster as well, that how those guys are just like acting. I will be telling you a lot of symptoms. I will telling you a lot of indicators, fraud, indicators as well, how those guys can do that. So how we can detect a fraud, that's also we will discuss it in this, report. 43%, from the employees, they are coming from these employees as well. The tips, the people, they are just like, they are they want the tip, they are giving tips. It can be employees, it can be vendors, it can be customers as well. So the tips you will be getting from those, how you can do that, this is also very important. One of the most important thing I want to share here, asset misappropriation schemes. That is, the most important. And 86%, and 86% cases of the asset misappropriation schemes are for the fraudulent activities. So it can be, and as per the report, 100,000 actually is the per case, the loss for those revenue as well for the fraud case. So if you can see, I can just discuss about the fraud facts. This is very important that you have to know about the fraud. That's These are the facts that go in detail, that how the people, they are just like going. A typical, organization loses 5% of its revenue as per the report. As per the I told you earlier that 5 to 7% of every company they're losing. So that's why my objective today is just like, you have to go back to your company, you have to go, even the personal life. We are losing a lot, but we don't know. There are a lot of, asset misappropriation schemes. As I discussed, it's almost 86%. It's the most common fraud in this world, the corporate sector as well. Financial statement fraud schemes also 10%. But in financial statement frauds, is almost, average loss for one, one fraud is $1 million. So you can see, I mean, asset misappropriation, I will discuss with you what is asset misappropriation. When you will be going back, you can just like, relate to this training, or maybe webinar information to your own company, or maybe your own, surrounding as well. As I discussed, mostly, the fraud are detected by the tips from the employees, from the vendors, from the suppliers, from the customers. A lot of things, is there. So anti-fraud control, decrease the loss and duration of the fraud scheme. This is very important, because mostly I have been working since many companies, multinational companies even those companies, they have the lack of controls, lack of internal controls as well. So that's why anti-fraud controls are very important. You have to put in place, and you have to go review as for those, the fraud controls as well. Anyways, okay, this is also number 9. It's very important, because majority, 77% of the fraud are usually committed by the individuals working in one of 6 departments. Accounting and finance department is one of the major function actually, because why, I will tell you in detail that why these guys can do operations. Of course, they can do sales, of course, customer services and purchasing. The supply chain is very, for the, in terms of fraud risk management, is very vibrant actually. As I mentioned earlier, nearly half of the victims do not recover the losses. This is 54%. They are not getting a single penny from the fraud activity, from the fraud incident, because mostly companies, they don't want to go for the activity and for the cases and litigation as well. So they don't recover anything from those. Even mostly cases, they are terminating the employees as well. Okay, today, now that was a surveys. I think you can just have what is the huge impact of the fraud risk management on the throughout the corporate sector and the world as well. Even it can be individual life as well. These are the basic. Today we are going to discuss that can give you basic ideas and the guidelines, and maybe the you can just have some sort of very informative session about this. How you can save yourself or your company from the fraud management. What is a fraud? This is very important, you have to understand. Everything is not fraud. Every act is not fraud. Any illegal act, that should be any concealment, violation of trust. it can be the individual or the property parties and the organization to scale the personal business advantage. Just like in terms of, we can say, conflict of interest. If you're doing anything in conflict of interest, that can goes to, the fraud. It should be, intention should be there for anything. It's not the accidental. There should be intention for the, and to deceive others, resulting victims suffering the losses and the achieving gain as well. So this is, basic and very important. You have to consider about, what you have to, how you can define the fraud. If something, the people, they have done that, on the next slide I can tell you. See, fraud is not accidental. This is very important to understand. Why? Because if you have done something wrong in the financial statements by unintentionally, it doesn't mean that you are doing the fraudulent activity. Fraud have some sort of factors. It should be a intention. It should be a, just like pre-plan. This is a pre-planned activity. The people, they are going, it's not, I mean, just like going and meeting with the fraud and doing fraud, and he can see the opportunity and he has done the fraud. He or they are doing, just like, the people who are doing the fraud, they are doing fraud almost, long time, years. But the companies, they don't know, because they don't have the controls. They don't have the proper, the internal controls, proper strong internal controls on those fraud risk management. So this is not something accidental. There is a pre-planned activity that people, they are doing. Okay. Now, why I just want to discuss about the risk. Mostly people, they're professionals, I know, but they everyone knows about the risk. Why I just want to share, because proceeding, to proceed further, I just want to see the risk as well. So because it's interlinked with the fraud management, how there is, if something happen, how is the fraud risk? So this risk, if you know about the risk as well, so then you can just like do better in terms of management. So this is a, what is a risk? That is something uncertain. It exists in the future, impact objectives, positive or negative. But here in the terms of fraud, I think that that will be a negative as well. So danger and the opportunity, if something, we are taking, people, everyone saying you have to go take a risk because you will get the reward. Because that's why we're saying, because there's a danger, there's opportunity as well. So we have to see how the danger and the opportunity in each and every risk. So I just want to give you some sort of, the in terms of risk, we are just like managing the risk on daily basis in our lives. Just like today meeting, I have to came early, I was managing risk. If you want to go Abu Dhabi, you have to manage the risk as well. You have to go for the COVID-19 test as well nowadays. You have to pre-plan. This is called, something, you have to, we are just like going the risk, managing risk, every day, but we don't know. So even though, in our lives, we are going for the kids' education, we are managing risk, we are considering about the risk as well. So I just want to share, in something that, you have some plans, but there are some other plans as well. Just like if someone send you, uh, in the university students, or maybe just like, I hope there will be a lot of university students as well today. So the people, if we have plan to go smooth, but there are a lot of, hurdles in the plans as well. So those, how those hurdles or maybe difficulties you have to manage, that's very important. Okay, so this is basic concept I just want to share with you. There are some, the plans, but there are the risk as well, how you can manage. This is very important. This is the risk management process. I just want to share, this is the last slide for the risk management, because I didn't include the due time constraints. What is the risk management process? These are some sort of coordinated, activities to direct and control organization with regard to risk. First, you have to risk identification. It can relate, you can relate the fraud risk management as well. You have to see what are the risks for the frauds. You have to analyze those fraud risk analysis. Then you can go for the fraud mitigation, and the monitoring as well. This is something, you have to create a culture as well. In mostly companies, I have observed that they don't have the culture, they don't have the tune at the top. They just like the code of ethics, everyone, but the implementation is not there. So that's very important. That's why I thought to put the risk management as well. So how we can relate to the fraud risk management. So that's why it's important to understand. Now come back to the fraud. What are the effect of fraud? I hope everyone knows that if something, even though just like something happens, something happens to me as well. There was a one transaction for the credit card. It has been done, you know. from another guy. I don't know. It was around 5,000, dirhams. So that's what effect was. I lost the, I almost chased 6 months for the banking. It's a time wasting, it's energy wasting that I went every time I have to follow with the bank. It's a, stress as well. So that's why before it's happening, we have to put some sort of, the controls. I don't know, that was not in our hand, but how we are using our credit cards, that's very important. Nowadays, due to this technological or maybe the digital, the era, everything is online. So that's why you have to be very careful when once you're using about these, whatever on the online something shopping as well. So negative impact, of course, it can increase the company, operating cost because if something happens, you will put in the loss as well. So poor, results we can see. Increase in the price to the customers. If we have something, in fraudulent activity has done, so we will have to increase the prices for the bad publicity. Of course, if something you can consider even your own company, if you have your own company, so if the people they think about you that this guy is something happened even in the banking sector, if we consider that there are a lot of incident happening in the banking sector, and the people they will just like take out from the accounts from those banks as well. So this is very important. This can damage the the publicity for any company as well. You know, loss of bonuses, of course, that it can be it's ultimate actually. Even though there are people they can lose a job as well. So I will give you one example with the one case actually that I like it. And even though regulatory fines, that's also you have to consider because if you have the poor internal controls, you don't follow the regulations and the regulatory instructions. Of course, you will be getting fined, and that will be also bad publicity for your company or maybe for you as well. Okay, let's discuss about this one. Who are the fraudsters? That's why I was saying then if you will be just like if you understand about the concept about the fraudster, then whenever you will go back, you will find the fraudster easily. This is I can assure you. So so that's why if you can see the majority of the it's not unfortunate, but I mean majority of the males actually 70% they are they are doing the frauds because they are majority people they are on the top positions as well. 28% is overall. I mean it AC as for the ACF report to 2020. This is as per the the surveys. So 72% people they have done the male actually they have done the fraud. The females, gender we can say 20, and maybe it will as well, guys. See, education. The people who are more educated they have done more frauds. So this is I was thinking that fraud 64%. The fraudster actually they have university degree are higher than that. And then university degree are higher than that. They one case average loss for each case is was around 200,000 $200,000. So you can imagine even the guy who don't have the university degree, he has an average loss for one case. It's not only, I mean, this is almost $100,000 as well. So, and the next one as well is very surprising. Once you are getting old, if you are just like you don't achieve anything, then you will be just like depends on the age, less than 40s, 75,000 dollars per case. I mean the per fraud as well. In 40 to 54, the people who has 40 to 54 they have done $150,000 per the fraud case. And surprisingly you can see the 55 plus that the guys actually they have done a good job. Unfortunately they just like they the average loss for each case of those 55 plus year old guys, the fraudster we can say $425,000. That's incredible. I mean, so you can imagine how the age factor is deciding because there are a lot of factors we will discuss it why these guys are doing, why the elder guys, who is doing the fraud. This is also very important to understand. Actually, this is a fraudster profile. Whenever you will go and you can see the surroundings, you can feed a lot of people actually how they are doing the fraud. You can find it after this presentation, I'm sure that. So types of fraud, it's very, also important that, as I mentioned earlier, misappropriation of assets, corruption, e-crime, due to, nowadays we are moving everything on the digital or maybe technology side as well. So e-crime is there for employees fraud. This is basic, common fraud as well. Just like expense claim, theft of cash, intellectual property, accounting records we are manipulating here, and you know, the crime by the professional criminals. This is also, there are some sort of, advanced, the fee for the fraud, corporate identity as well. There is one fraud I just want to share with you. Once the COVID start, actually, I am spreading the awareness since the COVID start to the different, I have been very active on the social media and especially on the LinkedIn. I am giving a lot of, the information and the awareness to the people that how they can save. Nowadays, maybe mostly people, they have, the experience that we are receiving a lot of emails that this is an NGO, this is a hospital. They are just mostly people. They're looking for the, that they don't have the food. So the people, a lot of emails we are receiving that they need money. They just like subscription for this, the service through the charity. So NGOs are the basically on the top risk right now, because mostly people they are misusing those NGOs as well. So that's why I'm saying this fraud I gave in April and June. Actually, I gave, in May, a lot of awareness on this topic, that how you can just save yourself. Because we everyone knows, everyone want to give something to the poor, I mean the needy people, but I mean that's guys, they are playing with our emotions as well. So be careful, and that's very important nowadays. Due to COVID, this fraud is very highly active actually nowadays. Okay. This section is, very important section. If you can see, who commit fraud? If you can put in your comments as well, who commit fraud, then maybe I can just have an idea. Maybe mostly people knows that who can commit fraud. We discussed a lot of, the fraudster profile as well, but if you can give me the idea in the comments as well in the, so then we can move forward on this one. There are a lot of pictures I put it actually, that to give the idea. You're not going to forget this one. Whenever anyone asks about you who commit fraud, you can have idea that you can relate to this presentation, that okay, who can commit fraud, you know everyone, you know everything. So that's why I'm saying, if you can put in the comment, then I can have idea, maybe the people knows about who can commit fraud. I will just like sharing with you on the next slide who can commit fraud. For me, maybe for just like the surveys, or maybe it's this is anyone and everyone. It's not only just like specific, people, or maybe the professionals or something. Just like, if you can say, if we are from finance guys, we are just, the sales they can do. No, anyone and everyone can commit fraud. There is no type of, it can be employee, it can be customer, partner, regardless of social status and the gender and the nationality. This is something, you have to remember every time. Anyone can do fraud, because the people see it actually. No, these guys, some guys, they are very, noble. I mean, I give example every time. If you will give the opportunity to the people, and we are human, so anyone, or everyone can commit fraud as well. I put the example for this one. This is very, good example in terms of this, the who can commit fraud. The former CEO, the WorldCom, everyone knows about the telecommunication company in 2002. He was sentenced 25 years in jail. What he has done, $11 billion fraud. He has the biggest fraud in the US history till now. Shareholder lost $188 billion. And you can see the impact. We have discussed about the impact. What is the impact of the fraud? See, the impact is 20,000 people, they lost the job. So 25,000 families, they have gone, they just like, people, they lost job as well, even we can include. So we can say why the people commit fraud. If you will get the understanding about this one, if you have any question about these, the why people commit fraud and who commit fraud, how to, so you can put it in the comments as well. Why people commit fraud? There are a lot of pressures on us, as a social pressures, we can say. just like I gave always example in different trainings as well. See, if you have a pressure from your family, if you have pressure from your, the social circle as well. Just like I gave you in terms of a very straightforward example, if someone mother is in hospital and he has a pressure to pay the bills and he don't have the money, so what he will do? This is called the pressure. So he will just do some sort of, the activity. Maybe he will say, okay, I can take it, I will give it back to the company later on, so I can just fulfill my need. So this is called the pressure. It can be other pressures as well. It can be social pressures. It can see, just like people, they can see different people, they are just like, they are doing the activity, they are, lot of people, lot of pressures from the other sides. You can see as well on the next slide. What are the pressures? Opportunity. This is a very good point to understand. If you will give opportunity to anyone, they will do the fraud. This is for sure. Not today, but later. I mean, opportunity is just like if we open the door for our homes, if we open the door for our cars, you give the opportunity to commit the fraud for the people who are just like, who are looking for the fraud. So don't give the opportunity. If they have the opportunity, they will do. Opportunity means just like I have the, you know, from the shopping mall, if the anything in this like, it's open, the locks are open. I gave the opportunity, I gave example in training for my kid actually. If I took my kid to the ice cream shop and I gave the opportunity to the guy that okay, he can see the ice cream, so he will run to the ice cream because that's a, human nature. They can see, that I gave the opportunity to just like to ask for the ice cream. So this is something, if you have the lack of controls, if you have something, you don't have strong controls as well, you don't have the reviews as well, so you are giving the opportunity to the people that you can commit fraud anytime. Attitude. This is also very important, and you can relate in your personal life, you can relate in your, you can relate everywhere. I mean, even personal life, even the companies as well. If you are an entrepreneur, you can relate as well. See, the people think that this is our right. See, this is something that, that is called the fraud, the triangle. The people think this is my right. I'm working in this company since 10 years, so I have to reimburse, I can, use the, company cars, company resources as well. I can use anything about the, misuse of assets. That's why, the misappropriation of assets is 86% because this is our attitude as well. So if you will give the opportunity, we don't have the controls on those. So the people attitude will be like that. They can use anything. So this was a fraud, why people commit fraud, this pressures, opportunity, and the attitude. There is a fraud diamond. There's one, it's almost same, but there's one thing, capability. Is addition in that. I like this one because, this is also the point actually where the people can do the fraud as well. If you don't have the capability, if you can see the, the reports and the surveys as well, the people who are on the higher position, they are doing more frauds because they have the capability. If you can see, the people who are in the mostly, I mean, even the lower level people, they're also doing, but I mean, if they have the capable for the do the fraud, they will do that. So if you have the capability, you have the, the more chances that people he can do the fraud. If you can see the example on the above example, that CEO is $11 billion fraud. You can see, I mean, the guy who was mostly, I have seen the, there are a lot of researches and surveys available, the people that on the top of position, they are doing more frauds. Okay, this one we already discussed actually. I put it actually for the reference as well. Pressures. What is the pressure? If you there is no job security, you will see. Okay, let me take whatever I can take it from the company. So if there is no bonus as well, so that's why I'm saying personal financial issues as well, health issues. So financial results, financial difficulties as well. So people, they do more fraud actually if you have those pressures. Opportunity, I told you, lack of segregation of duties. If you see WorldCom, the CEO was he was there was no segregation of duties about he was holding two main positions, and he was weaker internal controls, of course. So these are the opportunities, as I discussed with you. If you don't have the locks in the car, if you don't have the locks in your, the bags, So you are giving the opportunity. You cannot claim, you cannot blame anyone that you also give, I mean, the opportunity as well. So it's something, the rationalization I told you actually, the people they have, it is attitude. This is something, the people think that they have the, they have the, we don't, we are not get, actually, I have met a lot of people, they told me, we are not getting a lot of, we are not getting the adequate, salaries or the bonuses or maybe the benefits. How we can use? So this is our right to use from the company. So this is, aggressive something, approach for the people. They think that this is their right as well. Okay, I hope the you guys understood actually what's and why the people and who do the fraud as well in terms of digital market, digital age as well, digital era. That this is also actually for me this is also very important. You you have to found you will find a lot of people around you, and you can relate to this slide that how those guys are just like you, if they are involved in the fraudulent activity or not. You can see on this activity. If the people, the survey says, if the people they are living beyond their income, almost 42% people they have, this is a big indicator actually for the, if I have income up to 10,000, I'm living in some sort of, JB or somewhere. I mean that's the people. It's a natural thing. The people will think that how from these guys are getting from the money. So this is very important. If the people, it's not in all the cases, but mostly 42% is for sure. It's simple. If you don't have the money, how you can just like can say the to survive, or how you can just like live in luxury life. So financial difficulties is also very important. I don't have the money right now. What I will do? Of course, I will. If I have to work, if I don't have, I have the continuous, the financial difficulties. It's 26% people they have the financial difficulty. They are doing fraud. So that's it's very easy to identify those people as well. That it's not. That's what I'm saying. You don't say it's 100%. It's for 26%. If I have financial difficulties as well, but I don't want to do fraud, this means I'm not doing it. But mostly it can leads to that. If I have continued financial difficulties as well. Control issues. Mostly cases in the corporate sector you can find this one. The people control issues, they are not willing to share their duties. I have worked in the multinational company, and the guy, I have actually identified one guy, he was working on the same position from last 15, 16 years. And he was not even going for the, the paid holidays. Mostly he was going and just like he was staying in the job as well. And we identified a lot of fraudulent activities from that guy. So this is something, the power, that if it's a powerful, indicator. If you have the guy who's on the same position since, 15, 20 years, so, and he's not even using, he's not sharing duties as well. So that can lead to that activity. Of course, this is the close association with vendor and customers. If you have a close association, uh, so it's 19% cases, suspicious, and the defensive irreliability as well 13%. Addiction. If you have any addiction, gambling or drugs, of course, 9% people they are more vibrant to do frauds as well. So refusal to take vacations. The people they're not going for the vacations. They're staying on they are stick to their job. It's not. They are 7%. The report says that they can do fraud. They can be involved in the fraud activities as well. Okay, now we can discuss about that was a basic, information that I gave about the fraud and who do the fraud, who can commit the fraud, and how do just like this is the indicators about the frauds as well, that how they can do that. So tips for the fraud. It's very important. I always say in my presentations, in my trainings, that prevention is better than detection. Prevention is better than cure. If you are just like you have strong internal controls, you have a strong internal culture, you have and you have implemented financial controls as well, you are reviewing from the third party or maybe internally, you are considering dedicated fraud officer as well, So promote fraud awareness and consider trainings. This is objective that we are giving trainings, that's on this objective, that it's a awareness session. The people should know what's going on surrounding, then they can be more vigilant and careful as well. Conduct pre-employment screening. This is important. If you're hiring someone, you have to see those screener as well. you know don't be afraid of challenging if suspect wrongdoing. This is mostly companies I face the challenges as well. I implemented many companies the whistleblower policy. I requested many the staff, you can just put the give us the some sort of the information that who is doing fraud, because the people, they work in any section, they know more, they know better than us as a third party, okay, as a third, they know better than us that okay, what's going on in the section, what's going on in this department. So that's why they more, they are more, gets they are scared, of course, from the situation. If something go wrong on this one, they can do job as well. But that's why you have to push those guys, so they can give you a lot of information, and it can be useful in terms of investigation. Okay, this was something, the fraud prevention. I always focused on the fraud prevention. And you cannot believe me, there is an anti-fraud strategy as policy as well. You have to implement those policies to prevent before something is happening. So this will give you a lot of the confidence on your systems as well. So this was a fraud prevention, and then we will be discussing about fraud detection. That's very important. It's almost the next 2 3 slides. I will just wrap it up. And fraud tools. I mentioned earlier in my presentation, the tips is number one. You can detect the fraud. That can be employees, that can be customers, that can be vendors and others as well. Anyone, they can just you can circulate your whistleblower policy to the vendors and the customers. They can give you who is involved in the so they can give you tips as well. Internal audit is very important. The department in any company is 15%. Of course, they are doing. They don't have the the sole responsibility of detecting fraud, but I mean they are detecting fraud during the audits as well. So there's other management reviews as well. So these by accident external audits, of course, they are doing 4% as per the surveys. So basically, you have to implement those controls. You have to implement the whistleblower policies as well. You have to increase the strong internal controls. So the people, they should tell you, okay, these are the problems in this company. There is a fraudulent activity happening. This I have done that. I created a risk and control champions in each and every section of one company, and they gave me a lot of information on this. You can do this activity, and you can do this. This is very important. If you try, you create a culture in your company, then you're not going to sit alone. There are a lot of the information. There are a lot of the problems are coming to you. Then you can add value in the company operations. If you are not making a relationship with those the people, then maybe, of course, we cannot do everything. This is something you have to take the support from the line management, even from the employees as well, internal reporting, of course. So this is the basic theme of this fraud detection, how you can detect fraud as well. This is the Middle East survey. I I will just it was 28 cases from the United UAE. They just conducted survey, and every case was around 100,000 USD for the cases. 127 total cases from the it was from overall Middle East and the Africa as well. So you can see actually 52%, the mostly the corruption, the most of the problem, and the indicator about this survey is just like even in Middle East and Africa, the corruption is 52% the challenging as well. So there is a lot of other the scheming and cash currency as well, the expense reimbursement. These are some sort of these are all misappropriation of assets. I can accept the corruption. So you can relate to that what I told you earlier, that 86% fraud incident are relating to those the frauds in terms of misappropriation of assets, just like skimming before recording the cash. They can take it out from the and then cash currency they record it and then they take it out. So those, the problem are there. So this is the survey results in 2000. It was in 2020. Every case, it was a 100,000 USD loss for each case in UAE and even in Middle East total. Okay, who's responsible to the fraud? This is very important for the internal audit professionals. That there are a lot of internal audit. I know. I mean, there are a lot of my colleagues. They asked me about the question. About they are always asking about this question. Who is responsible to detect fraud? I am an internal audit professional. It is not my sole responsibility to identify fraud. It is the management responsibility. This is for sure. I mean, there is no doubt about it. The mostly, that's unfortunate. The mostly, in companies, they are just like giving the what you call the responsibility to detect fraud, to just like investigate the fraud to the internal audit. Of course, we can support what we can do. Management is responsible to implement controls, to develop a healthy tune at top. That's why it's a tune at top. If the guys are there, then they can just, they can develop a lot of the plans. Internal audit. What as an internal audit professional, what I do? We support to the management efforts to establish a culture that embrace ethics, embraces honesty and integrity. What we do, we assist the management what internal controls evaluation. This is very important actually. The people think that we are responsible to implement the controls, we are responsible just like as internal professionals. So this is as an internal auditor, if you are an internal audit professional, your responsibility to assist the management in terms of how to enhance, how to add value in terms of internal controls, how you can improve the internal controls, so that if the internal controls are strong, if the locks are strong around your car, around your home, around your the office, then no one can it can give you a lot of confidence. The people, they are not going to do fraud on those activities. So if there is a culture for the punishment as well, and tune at the top, there's a integrity, there's a honesty as well. So those the ethics and the code of conduct is there. So that's not, we can be involved in the investigation, but we cannot do the implementation of any the controls as well. We can see as an internal auditor the improvement, and we can enhance the internal controls. We can give the recommendation for the internal controls. We provide the objective assurance that is unbiased, the report to the management and the board of directors, that the fraud controls are sufficient to identify fraud risk and ensure that controls are function effectively. It's two very important things. We give reports that the sufficient controls are there, and then we can that these can detect the fraud as well. This is our responsibility as well, that okay, we can provide. So this was something I just want to share with you guys. It was relating to fraud and the risk, and who can commit fraud, and the indicator of the fraud as well, and what the role of the internal auditor as a fraud in, the management. This is for every business leader. This is for each and every one. It's not only for the business leader. I can say it's all for us as well. For me, for you as well, for companies, for individuals as well. We should be, if you are going to company, if you're a fraud, if you, just like if you have the fraud professionals, if you are auditing professionals, anything, risk management or maybe lawyers, you can see these, the 5 tips. Though that's very important tips. If you can implement these tips in your company, I can guarantee, I can assure you, majority of the controls will be stronger. Be proactive. As I mentioned in the fraud prevention, that you have to go for the fraud prevention programs. Fraud prevention is just like internal controls effectiveness. You have to put some sort of, just like we are putting on the password on the laptop, that is a prevention. You're not giving someone to access your the personal things, or maybe the professional. So that's why I'm saying this is something the proactive. Put some sort of code of ethics, put internal controls, review those controls as well, and then you can stop the fraud as well. Establish hiring procedures, as we discussed, that go for the background investigations, check the educational, if we are hiring, if we are hiring someone, and after 3 months, 4 months, we are saying, oh my God, these guys, they don't have the, we didn't check the investigation, there was a criminal background, there was a no educational, educational problem as well. So this is something you have to see. You have to put the established hiring procedure, the policies for the HR as well. There should be no biasness in the policy as well. So that's you can just see in you will feel actually once you have done once you will do this one, you will feel lot of the improvements in this in the fraud management procedure as well. Train employees in fraud prevention. That's why we are here today. Of course, we are not employs each other, but we are friends. As a friends, we came here to learn together and discuss together as well. This is the fraud prevention. We are discussing about something, the fraud, how you can save yourself and the company from the fraud. Even around, I mean, surroundings, you can save if you know about the fraud as well. So this is something I just want to tell you. Implement fraud hotline as well. Mostly companies they have the fraud hotline. Maybe you can call those guys. Increase perception about the detection as well. So mostly people, they think about this one. Uh, Communicate regularly to staff. There should be anti-fraud policies. As I told you earlier in this, there should be a strong internal, controls. There should be a strong, a code of ethics for the people working with in the company. So those, tips, it can enhance your, the relevant, activity, and it can save you, what I consider 5 to 7%. Every company, it's not exception. Every company, including you and me, if your company, my company, they are losing 5 to 7% revenue from this fraudulent activities. But we don't know. We don't bother about those because we don't know that because we don't have the controls for that activity. Okay, this is something I just want to tell you how you can help for your company, for your own, and even the surrounding as well. Be aware of the current situation, the fraud activities, what's going on. I told you example about the NGOs, of the hospitals, of the COVID test. There are a lot of people they are playing around. So you have to be very vigilant and very careful about those people. They just like asking for the funds. They're asking for something. So those you have to look around. What's happening in terms of frauds. So this is a be control conscious, is a internal control environment as we discussed. Ensure proper segregation of duties. This is very important. I I always stressing on this your point. If we don't have the segregation of duties, everything is done by the same person, or maybe two three activities is done by the same person, then lot of the problems and lot of the you can expect a lot of the fraudulent activities from those. You have to segregate the duties in terms of just like payment procedure, in terms of the selecting the vendor as well. Everywhere you have to put the segregation of duties from top to down. So authorization approval, as I discussed, there should be a segregation of duties will be there, then it can be segregated. And maintain overall, organizational assets. This is a huge, the misappropriation of asset is, biggest fraud risk actually. This is 86%. If you don't have the controls over the organization assets, it can be misused. It can be abused. If you will put the internal controls, so you can just put some sort of strong internal controls on those activities. Okay, constantly review, event, and revise operations. Okay, take the ownership of your activities and execute with due diligence. Wonderful point, actually. It's a culture. If you are working in a company and you are not owning that company, then you cannot change it. You cannot add the value. But if you are working in a company and you took the ownership of those activities, and just like I am doing this activity without any, it's just like my passion. I have to give awareness about those activities, that how you can save yourself from the fraud. This is important. That's why I'm here actually for you. If you took the ownership for any activities, then you can fill the gaps, you can improve the activities, you can improve the controls as well. So the last one, not the least, escalate all the activities and transaction to the line management. Here, mostly employees, they get scared. They are not actually raising the point to the management, and they are scared of just losing job as well. But if you, that's what I'm saying, if you have the culture in the company, if you have a culture at home, you can consider even at the home, if you have the tune at the top, the kids, they will be telling you a lot of things actually about the surrounding, about the home, what's going on, what I mean. So that's why I'm saying you have to set a tune at top, give some sort of confidence to the employees. If they're going to whistle below, they should not get some sort of some sort of the abuse from the from the abuse from those line management. If I am just like anyone is my boss, I am just going to the CEO. This guy is doing fraud, my boss. So what I mean, if you are just like this is something that if there is a culture in that company, of course I will go for those and I will tell you the management is that this is thing happening as well. Okay, this is something that you can do and you can help yourself, your company, and surround. So today we have discussed about these some sort of the basic agenda. It was what about the fraud risk management, who's are the fraudster, there are indicators, there are how you can prevent those activity, those fraudster, how you can help, how you can detect as well. So these are the basic actually I took today. Due to time constraint, thinking about to have more slides on this, I can give you more case by case actually, but times I hope this will be very beneficial and insightful to you. If there is any comments, you can put it in the comments as well. And the last, I will just share one video that's very important to have. You can watch. It's about the money laundering, AML. If the people they know about the AML, otherwise you can see in the video, just like how the money launderer they are working and how they just like it's the activity is just like ongoing in this world. So you can see in the last video, and then I will take some questions and I will be just like handing over to Mr. Ahmed. Okay, okay. This is watch this one. Um, 15 to 20 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes. Because we do that for actually there is that now. Sorry. Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time that why I actually included this AML, because nowadays this is very hot topic actually. Everyone is talking about the AML. Everyone is talking about how the companies they are working, how those the it can be. So that's why I hope this that can give you some sort of information that how the money launderer they are just like putting layers, and they are just like putting in terms of gambling and they're getting jackpots as well and making their money white as. So this is something I just want to share today. I hope you guys get a lot of information from this session, and I'm very grateful and thank you so much. I really appreciate on these topics and your time actually. I just hand over to Mr. Amir if I mean if there's any question I can take it. Otherwise, we can proceed further.
Hmm. Actually, sir, there was a question from Yusuf Siddat. Like he asked for the copies of slides distribution between the participants.
So I
So,
didn't get it. Can you give me the?
no, sir.
I didn't. No, no, I mean, wait. I just want to.
Can you hear me, sir, now?
Mr. Athar, your microphone is muted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry for that. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
sir, I have noted down some questions.
yes.
Yeah,
I have not
the
heard
first,
actually. Can you please
yeah,
repeat?
oh,
What was the question?
yeah, okay, sir. So Yusuf Siddat said that will there be a copies available for the participants of these
Of
slides
course,
and all?
I can share with you. If just leave your email addresses here. If you have any question, maybe if I am not able to do it now, maybe we can just like give information and whatever the question we can reply on the emails as well.
And so there is a CPA Nyson Kimutai. He asked the question that can I have a sample of anti-fraud policy for my organization from today's presentation?
See, for the anti-fraud policy, of course, you can get from my side as well, but there are a lot of anti-fraud policies samples available actually on the Google. But I mean, I can share with you. Anyone, see, that's why the objective why we are here is just like to spread some sort of knowledge. If I mean, there's something someone can get the benefit from this. So of course, I can share with you if any you just share the email address with the SPRs.
Yeah, okay, sir. So Mr. Ayman Anwar has asked that is there a difference between a capability and opportunity for fraud?
See, opportunity and the capability is slightly different actually. The opportunity is just like if you don't have the controls, if you don't have the controls over anything. Just like I gave example for the in terms of just like if you open the car without key, left the keys. So this is opportunity, and everyone cannot do that. But if I have the capability, of course I am just like on the position, and then I have just like if you can see a lot of people they are on the higher position, they are doing the fraud, so that they have because they are capable to do that. So this is the difference, actually basic difference between this one. Opportunity, it can be for anyone, but capability is just like authority. If you have authority to do that, you can do better in terms of fraud activity.
Okay. So there is one more question like Farhan Hassan has asked, what can we do if there is a case of management override and every employee was influenced by senior management to secure their job?
See, that's why, this, I have worked in the companies as well. So that's why I'm saying there is a challenges as well for internal auditor as well. And if you will, implement even for the whistleblower policy as well, so the people, they are not going to tell you. So you have to give some sort of motivation, you have to give some sort of, encouragement, and you have to give some, you have to create the culture actually from the top management. That's why I'm saying it's tone from the top actually. If you will put, otherwise, that there will be some challenges. Of course, it will be there.
Okay. And so there is a question from Muhammad Athar Iqbal that can we get wait Can we get ACFE and CPE from today's session?
From where? ACFE?
Can we claim ACFE and CPE from today's session?
See, this can help you in terms of the ACFE as well. So if you have CPE, actually, if you're looking for the CPE, we can discuss with Mr. Amir, and I hope they can just give, of course,
Sure, yeah,
they
not a
can
problem.
just give you.
Yeah.
You
Okay,
can
sir.
claim it.
That's all, sir. That's all.
So thank you everyone for joining the webinar. Hope you would have enjoyed this short session on business fraud risk management. And I would like to extend a special vote of thanks to Mr. Athar for enlightening and informative presentation on business fraud risk management. We appreciate having this mysterious area clarified, and we appreciate your advice on being proactive and being more skeptical in our dealings. We learn about some important tips and tricks to prevent frauds and how to implement internal controls effectively. Yeah, and last but not the least, I would like to also extend a big thanks to University of Bolton team who ensured this webinar goes smoothly. So once again, thank you all, and this is the end of the webinar. Thank you
Okay.
all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amir. I
Thank
also thank you very much for the my friends and the the surrounding. A lot of people have joined today, and I would like to say thank you so much for. I hope this can give you a lot of information. Thank you very much.
thank you very much. And
Bye.